want to turn it over to Tanya now, and then have Vinny and talk, and then we'll have time for people to fire questions at us. Tanya.
I'm Tanya. I'm one of Dr. Taylor's Digits patients. So the first thing I guess I'd like to start with is thanking Dr. Taylor, because he's the one who's devoted to making our lives better with he's not only knowledgeable, he has, I cried last time, I'm not crying this time. He's so compassionate, and you know, he really is more than a doctor. He's a friend, he's a family member, he's an angel. I call him our Earth Angel, so thank you, Dr. Taylor. I think it's also important that we thank all the friends and family here. You guys are what keeps us going. So seeing all the support out there is phenomenal, and you're really helping us learn about this illness and getting it out in our communities, because Lord knows with this illness, getting out in the community and being involved can be somewhat of a challenge. So you really need your family and your friends advocating for you. I've been a patient of Dr. Taylor's for about 6 years now. Prior to being this, my story's like many of yours. Lots of doctor's appointments, lots of surgeries, lots of procedures, parts taken out, not really sure if they were needed to be taken out, but they're gone nonetheless. And here we are, right? I've been with Dr. Taylor, we've learned quite a bit along the way, and I now have an ileostomy. I've had the colectomy, and I also have a central alignment, and have again had the same, like many of you, have had issues with sepsis, been on TPN, lots of trials and errors, and trying to figure out how to maintain this. But even though we've learned a lot, I still like to test the waters, and Digit still seems to have the upper hand in my life. This past spring and summer seemed to be another challenge. I was, trying to go to school, trying to work as much as I can, because that's what I wanted to do. That's what you do, right? That's what we do in the world, right? We want to contribute, we want to make something of ourselves, and it wasn't working. And I was getting sick, and just couldn't keep a line in, just going downhill. And Dr. Taylor said, Tanya, I think you need to take time off work and school. This is enough. And I was like, nope, I'm going to keep doing this. And then wasn't working, right? Still getting sick, trying to function with the medication, trying to get a balance, and he went back to Dr. Taylor and I said, I think you're right. I don't think I can do this. And what was most upsetting about it was I felt like, what am I living for if I'm always going to be sick? How do I keep going if I'm just going to be sick? And then it took a while, probably just happened when I was thinking about what I was going to say tonight, but I thought, you know what, it's okay if me being healthy and me focused on being healthy means I'm here for my family. And that, for me, I'm not going to cry. I think that's been the hardest thing, and I've been struggling with this illness for 9 years. And finally realizing that it's okay we have this. And I think we go on trying to think that it's not okay, I have to be better, I have to be stronger, I have to get through this, I can do it, and it doesn't work. And we feel like we're just batting our heads against the wall. But I guess I'm telling you guys all in this room, it's okay that you have it, and you're worthy, and you're important. So that's what I wanted to tell you. So I have a couple things I want to go over that hopefully will not make me cry. First off, there was one patient that I've spoken to who's in the hospital in St. Mary's in Kitchener, Lynn, and she was really upset she wasn't able to attend. So I asked her if she wanted to send us a message, and I would be happy to read it for her. So Lynn sends us saying hi, and that she as well is also a Digits patient, and she's in the hospital right now dealing with Digits. She says she really wants to be here, but unfortunately isn't able. And she says we are so lucky to have the support that we do from Dr. Taylor and London Health Sciences Hospital. We have to stand together and keep giving our support to those who need it. Thank you, Dr. Taylor, and everyone who are working so hard for us. Let us keep the fight going. Don't give up. share that on behalf of Lynn. So we have a new website. It's www. I think I said that 4 times. 3 W's.fidgetsyndrome.ca. And the reason why we decided to do this website is just because it's easier for us to put updates on it regularly, because I'm the administrator of it. So there's a couple things on it. On the website, there's a digits forum where you can sign in with your email address, you can sign in with your Facebook account, anything. You can post questions, we can have discussions. Problem though, I'm the only member. So, I could, I guess, post questions and maybe think about them and answer them, but I would really like it if, we could have some other people. You can put a little picture there. I have my little dog Gemma on there, So anyway, so what I'm saying is if you want to join the Digits Forum, that would be great. Another part of the website that I'd like is we have a Digit Stories in our About Us as well, and this is your opportunity to share if you wanted to share your story with us and other Digits patients, and that way you could provide an email address and people can contact you directly. You can make it as long as you want, you can make it as short as you want, but the point is that, as Dr. Taylor says, each one of us is unique, and we all have our own experiences, we all have our own emotions, so if you want to put that out there and share it with us, I'm more than happy to post that for you. We also have a resources page that's, providing a lot of information for, just some of the products that are out there to help you, some good sites that are good to consult for information. Where's Mandy? Mandy's on our website. Mandy's helping with fitness support for, once you're after having surgery or you're wanting to figure out, hey, how can I exercise with my ostomy? What kind of things do I need to do differently? How can I make myself stronger, getting that active lifestyle? Because another thing that I've learned is how important it is to keep walking with my ostomy to make sure that it keeps going. We also have a financial support team on our website as well, who's willing to help us. I think that the reason why I put the financial support on the website is, let's face it, a lot of us can't work or struggle when we are working. And so making sure that we have a secure future is so important. And especially when we're looking at, we're young when this is happening, and it's not, it's something that we have for our life right now. So the only thing I'm going to say, if you want to consult the people that we have on the website, you're more than welcome to. But if you have someone else, just ask them about an RDSP, a Registered Savings Disability Grant. Yes.
Registered disability.
Registered disability. That is so important. You put money in, the government gives you money back. Please do it. So anyway, that's that. But if you need any help, that's something that I think is really important. Another thing is our communication. Brenda has informed me from the office that it's going to be primarily through email. So we had the sign-in forms at the front, but if you don't have an email address, make sure we have your full mailing address so we can keep in touch with you. We have new brochures that have all of our information on them if you need to contact us. We have new Digits wristbands if you'd like to be fashionable. We also have our pins as well. I sent, for those of you who I had your emails from last time, we had the Aviva Community Fund going where you had to vote every day to help us have more support groups. Well, I just got news today that, for those of you who know, we didn't make it to the semifinals, but we have one more round of voting. So I'm going to be sending that email out again, so we get to try again, and hopefully, I think we had about 500 votes this time, so hopefully we can get quite a few more. So we also have our upcoming gala, Swing Into Spring. It's in March. It's March 2nd this year, or next year, 2013. We are in need of sponsors, whether that is a silent auction item, a door prize, a monetary contribution. Please, anything you think, even if you're unsure, just contact us. We're more than happy to hear from you. The more we have, the better it is. My mom, Nellie, is the primary contact lady. Is the primary contact in her also on the brochure. If you are donating to the Digits Gala, it is a separate calculation from donating online to Dr. Taylor's Digits Fund, which either one is okay, but if you want to support the gala, it needs to go through my mom because it's a separate calculation. But the end result, it all ends up with Dr. Taylor. It's just the way the London Health Science Foundation has us calculate everything. Another bonus to the gala is any of you who have special diets, probably, any kind of food that you would like to have at the gala, let us know. We can't read your minds. So if that means a platter of rice cakes, is that at the gala? Or a bunch of bananas, as Dr. Taylor has mentioned. Whatever it is, don't be shy, let us know. We want to make this event for you. So, and if I have my way, I'll probably have some pretty strange things up there too. So don't worry about it. The last thing I just wanted to talk to you about is I'm really hoping that these support group meetings aren't every 2 years, and I'm really working hard at raising some money through some research grants for us so we can not only talk about what's going on with our bodies biologically, but what's going on with us emotionally and what we're dealing through, because I really believe that even though when we share our stories of pain, in the end, they'll make it better when we give each other hugs, and we can laugh a little, and we can share those stories of something going wrong or something not right, because sometimes it's a little bit funnier when someone's like, yeah, that happened to me too, right? And you can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel with it. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have some good news in the future. But other than that, I think that's the administrative end of it anyway. Thank you.
Sold my love of statistics. But he also asked me to keep it light on the statistics and heavier on the more important things, which is what the statistics represent and what they're telling us. So I'll try to keep in that vein. And of course, I can't talk about what I'm talking about without making reference to some of the people that have been working on this with us. Dr. Jennifer Lamb, who's now in Calgary, and Dr. Farouk Manji, who's in Western, another resident here. Again, we have to do these things now to show that we're not trying to pawn off drugs or anything like that. So I don't disclose the name. We talked a lot about what Digits is and what we think it is anyway, and the clinical presentation and all that. And I think the question a lot of patients have when they have a certain condition is, why is treating X condition difficult? And in this situation, why is treating Digits so difficult? And to answer this, we need to take a few steps back, a few hundred steps back. And you have to look at an old balding guy on a marble slab. So does anybody know who this is? So this is Hippocrates. So he's supposed to be the father of medicine in ancient Greek times. And whenever doctors, whenever we become doctors, we say the Hippocratic Oath, which is things that the values and the virtues that we stand by as physicians. His big contribution to medicine initially was that he thought all of medicine and all of health can be explained by 4 humors, or 4 liquids. And these are black bile, phlegm, yellow bile, and blood. And he thought that in order for a person to be healthy, all these things have to be in balance. Whenever there was too much of one thing or not enough of another, you have an imbalance and you have illness. So you see this picture here. Obviously, if you have too much of something, you have to take it out. And so when you had too much of blood, you get rid of it. So their solution was blood lent. This got a little more sophisticated. So they started to add different combinations of things. And actually, even though it was a bit basic in our understanding, they actually stumbled on some things. So they thought that this corner of being ill, having too much black bile, resulted in constipation. And so one of their herbal treatments was senna, which is something that we actually use to this day, which you know as Sennacoct. Now, I bring this picture out here because this is the pathway for a B cell, which is one part of the immune cells that we have, to mature and become an actual B cell from a progenitor. And this is actually actually just, if I use my scroller here, so this is the cell membrane of the cell. This is the nucleus, which is the inside of the cell. And so these are all the signaling pathways that we think, over the hundreds of years that we've looked at this, result in all the signals getting into the nucleus and causing the genes to start getting transcribed or written so that the protein can be made. So this ignores totally all the things that happen before the cell, which is thousands of things, and everything that happens at the gene level, which is another 1,000 things. So this is just for a 1B cell. The reason I bring this up is because this is the reason why it's very difficult when there's a certain disease that we think we understand, takes millions of steps, and even though we have treatments for it, we may not actually know 100% what it is it's treating. So I think it's important to understand that and to appreciate that, and to help us temper our impatience sometimes, because this is a very serious condition. You're suffering with it, and it's very understandable to become impatient, but sometimes you have to take a step back and understand why. And I think that's an important thing to start from. So the challenge is we need to define and understand what's going on, and that's the essential first step. So we know, as Dr. Taylor mentioned, that GI motility disorders, this is sort of a broad range of things. They're highly prevalent, very common. They can drastically affect your quality of life. And usually they're treated with pills, medication. In some cases, surgery has been used, as we've seen. And in our cases, there are very few cases where surgery has been used. Because of that, there's not much information or evidence about patients that have had surgeries for this. And we don't have enough evidence about what happens at the histological or microscopic level. Because of this, we don't have that very busy slide of understanding each step in what causes digits. To add to this, there's a lot of different ideas we have from the medical community and in general about motility disorders. So we've gotten, and there's a current consensus guideline called Rome criteria, because all the experts in irritable bowel syndrome came together in Rome and came up with specific definitions of what it means to have irritable bowel syndrome and specific criteria. So even though we have all these very specific things, the patients they describe probably are very different. So one patient who may have the diagnosis of irritable bowel syndrome with a constipation subtype may be very different and may have a lot of different things going on than another person who has the same diagnosis. So in the same way, it may be very possible that one person with digits may have a very similar but different disease process. So this makes it very difficult. So in our research group, we've really looked at 3 objectives recently. And the first objective, without getting too much into the nitty-gritty, was, are there any abnormalities under the microscope in bowel specimens? And if so, what are they? And the reason that's important is because stereotypically, or typically in the past, the definition of these irritable bowel syndromes or motility disorders has been that there's been no microscopic abnormalities. So when people, for some reason, take biopsies, they get colonoscopies or whatever, they look at it in the microscope and they say, well, this is normal. And just like Dr. Taylor mentioned, sometimes when we do the surgeries and we've seen the samples of the bowel specimens, this is normal. So there must be nothing wrong. So there must be something that's functional, something that's in your head, or etc. So we want to look specifically at this population of patients and say, well, is that really true? Are there no abnormalities? The second objective was, if there are abnormalities, is there a relationship on a whole between that abnormality and the way somebody looks when they come to see us? So is there something in the bowel that says this person's going to come and see us with constipation or with vomiting, etc., etc.? And then finally, the last question, which I think for all the research, the most important question that has to be asked, why do the above questions matter? So in terms of our first objective, our first study that we did, we found that 20% of people in this population that we studied, which is the digits population, have an increased number or size of those nerve clusters in the bowel wall. So you may remember the pictures that Dr. Taylor showed of the bowel wall. There's different layers and there's nerves and so inside those layers. We found that 20% of people have increased clusters. Now this is kind of interesting because in the past, when they've seen different kinds of motility patients in the literature and the evidence that we've known about, they've had lower numbers or smaller numbers of these nerve clusters, which kind of makes sense. So if you understand that somebody has constipation. They can't move their bowels for weeks. You would expect that maybe the nerves that cause their bowel to move are less or absent, which is what we've come to expect typically. So in this population of patients, we found the exact opposite, that there's more. And it's not like there's some with more, some with less. Everybody has more. Anybody who has an abnormality, they have more. So this is something very unique, something different that we've never seen before. And we've come up with a couple of different thought processes as to why we think that is. We can talk about it later if you guys have questions about that. But I guess the more important thing is that there is a finding there. We also found that 15% of people had inflammatory, so white blood cells in their bowel wall. And this is kind of important because it tells us that there's something going on, something that's irritating in that system. Our second objective was to find out if there's anything about those abnormalities. So people that have those abnormalities under the microscope in their bowel, do they have a specific pattern or syndrome of symptoms? And we found that people that have those microscopic abnormalities are more likely to fit the Rome criteria, which I told you about, the Rome criteria of IBS with a constipation subtype. And so this is, I mean, in the sense that it shows us that there are some abnormality that we can see. This is something that's new, that's never been found before, and I think will lead us a certain way, and I think is very exciting from that point of view. And finally, you can ask, we found all these things, what does it matter? Another study that we've done actually that Dr. Taylor did several years ago and that we just finally were able to analyze. There was a very small study, and there were about 8 to 10 patients that had surgeries, so those ileorectal anastomoses or the ileostomy, and they had these standardized quality of life questionnaires before the operation and up to 1 year after the operation. And we found that patients that had identifiable microscopic abnormalities tended to have higher quality of life after their bowel surgery than those without abnormalities, which is an important thing if we're trying to find ways to guide us as to who would benefit from surgery, because that's an important thing. One of the worst things you can have is have a surgery and it not help you, make you worse. The other thing we found is that people who have the ileostomy tend to have a better quality of life than the ileorectal connection, which is somewhat counterintuitive to patients. But clinically and anecdotally, it's been something that we've known for a long time. Patients aren't willing to accept it because it's a very big change to your life, to the way you view yourself and your body. So to tell you, oh, you'll probably be a lot happier with this ileostomy sticking out of you, is something that's hard for patients to understand and to stomach and to come to terms with. But we actually have evidence to that fact now. And a lot of it, I'm sure a lot of you can personally relate to that, having gone through that experience. So without belaboring too many of the things, to tell you about some of the future directions that we're going into, we should note that the field of motility disorders is expanding over there. Okay. Anyways, I'll just leave you techniques if there are any questions. I'm very happy to answer any specific questions, either now or afterwards, if you have any of them. Okay.